Hey, what's going on, guys? Yesterday we talked about building rapport, and today we're going to talk about breaking it. So why would I make a video about building rapport and then the next one talking about getting rid of it? Well, first off, it's because you don't want to associate with everybody. See, between your philosophies and everyone else's in the world, you don't exactly match every single buddy out there. Now, you can follow lead and become friends with everyone you come in contact with to some extent. But there's always going to be people with philosophies that are just so extremely different than your own that there's going to be a lot of turbulence. And the only points I would suggest breaking rapport for that situation would be if their philosophies disrupt your values as a human being. You know, there's some things you wouldn't want to do. You know, if there's a group of people who are going to be doing sacrifices, human sacrifices, and you're against murder, would you really want to be a part of that? Probably not. And sometimes people have very strong views and they're not going to break it. You can't break it from them. That's fine. That's their decision. So, but we're not talking about breaking rapport in an extreme sense like that. What I'm saying is you're a powerful person. You don't have to build rapport with every single person you come across. You know, you're going to find people who are kind of cool to hang around with because they probably have similarities, but there's also going to be people who maybe aren't exactly like you and you're going to want to build rapport with them to get a better relationship. But why do we break rapport? Well, Stephen Covey, he talks about an interesting idea about it, something called an emotional bank account, and he says that, you know, the people who we know, if we make a deposit of gratuitous kindness, just unconditioned love, and you know, being trustworthy, being a good person, and then we're making these positive deposits into their emotional bank account. You know, you can visualize a regular bank account, so this is like the same exact thing, except you make deposits of good actions, and when you do negative things to affect that relationship, you're taking withdrawals away from that bank account. That's easy to visualize, easy to understand. So you have to understand that, have you ever had a friend who you haven't talked to for maybe 5 years or something long? I know I haven't seen people for a long time, and by the time when I end up seeing them again for the first time in 5 years, even though we've never talked, stuff's the same. Because if you build a big enough bank account, emotional bank account, then you and them are going to be on good terms. You're leaving on a high note. So let's think about this in the term of a conversation now. So conversations have peaks and dips. When you're talking to people, you know, conversation hopefully goes natural for you, hopefully just flows, and I'm sure you found plenty of people who do that. I know I found a lot of people who were in both situations. People who conversation just naturally flew and it went perfectly fine, and then other people who you had to really think about what's the next thing I'm going to say, what the heck are we going to talk about after this? Oh great, I just told a funny joke, now what? You know, you're going to have peaks and you're going to have dips. And just like that emotional bank account, it's a little bit more subtle because you're not doing negative things in the conversation, but what you are doing is you're losing or gaining their interest. There's no neutral ground. There's no just, you know, neutral level of energy. When you're in a crowd, you're either taking away energy or you're giving energy. So I want to make that clear right away. There's no neutral party. You know, if you're saying I'm not part of any side, you're really on the negative side because you're wasting space and you're lowering the energy, the morale. But when there's peaks and dips, you want to end on a high note or a low note. Simple as that. Do you want the last thing that somebody to think of you when you met them for the first time when you walk away to be like, hey, that was a really cool guy? Or, man, it got pretty boring pretty fast. Listen, you only have so many things to say, and if you can keep going on forever, then go on forever. But just keep in mind, if you're about to lose the conversation, if you're about to lose the interest of the other person because they're not really interested anymore and you've been blabbering for a little minute, if you can get another peak and then break away from there, they're going to think of you on a high note. But if you wait until the conversation dies and then say, I've got to go, that's the difference between breaking rapport and breaking away. If you break away, then what you're doing is you're leaving them anchored to that feeling of, hey, man, that was kind of awkward. I was hoping that he was going to leave, you know? And sometimes people struggle to get conversations to keep going on and on and on. But no, just break away while you're ahead. Literally, you ever heard that term before? Stop while you're ahead. This is a perfect example. So if you're in a conversation with somebody and then you just told this really awesome joke and you're like, shit in the back of my head, I don't know what the hell I'm going to say next, be like, hey, listen, you know what, I'm being rude to my friends, I've got to, whatever you got to do, and go hang out with some other people and do whatever you got to do. Don't lie to them and say a whole bunch of nonsense. You know, if you don't have anywhere to do, then make something to do. You know, your time's important anyways. You shouldn't be laying about all day. So, yeah, that's a pretty good idea about breaking rapport. And also, never underestimate the power of wearing sunglasses, because if you don't want to, those high-profile people, they wear sunglasses for a reason. You know, they're trying to break rapport. They're sick of seeing every people. Breaking eye contact away, they're not interested in what you have to say. So, it's not really something I do so much. That's more or less if there's somebody who has values that are just differing from yours so much that you don't want to necessarily be a part of that, because it's going to bother you with your values, you know, as a human being. You don't want to go away from your values. So, alright, well, that's all I've got for today. Hope you found this informative, and I will see you guys later.